Hello, I am Yury Lapayev, an IT student at MGA who has recently undergone the process of learning about mobile forensics and acquisition. Today, we are going to go through a sample mobile acquisition as well as going over some broader digital forensics topics. These will include privacy, planned obsolescence, and digital dependence. For the last assignment, a mobile acquisition had to be performed. I decided to use my personal iPad for this. The decision process for this was very simple. It was the only device I had with a working charging port. I am personally cursed with breaking the charging port on almost all of my phones. Thanks to wireless charging, this is not the death sentence it necessarily used to be, but I digress. The overall process of using the mobile edit software was very smooth and user friendly. I had to grant permissions on the iPad and enter my passcodes, so I was not able to experience the software's device cracking capabilities. I was a little upset about this because I was excited to see how well it would work. Once I got it up and running, the process did not take longer than 20 minutes, which I was impressed by. Maybe this was because of the relatively small amount of information on the iPad, because it is my secondary device, but none of that stopped Mobile Edit from generating an over 1,400 page report. It was clear after doing some research about some of the cutting edge mobile forensic software, such as Celebrite and MSAB, that the right software is tantamount to success in terms of mobile acquisition. Obviously, they can't all be perfect, but finding the right one to suit your needs as an examiner will go a long way. I found Mobile Edit to be very powerful and capable of performing one or a few simultaneous extractions. As you can see, a small amount of images, documents, and certificates were unable to be extracted. However, if you see how many were unable to be extracted versus the amount that were extracted, the success rate is still over 99%, which is very impressive. Mobile Edit is also definitely great at identifying large amounts of mobile devices, which is crucial in a logical acquisition. It is preferred to try a logical method before other invasive methods to avoid endangering a device's integrity. Another section of the report that caught my eye was the accounts and passwords. It did have all of the saved passwords from my Safari browser and Apple keychain, which I was expecting. What I was not expecting, however, is that it also found all of the passwords in my Google environment. So, just because I had the Google account signed in on the iPad on Google Chrome, it was able to extract every single piece of information out of my Google account. To me, this was eye opening, as it is clear that any possible bad actor can access all of the sensitive data from your device with relative ease. And if it can be done in 15 to 20 minutes, then it's even possible to do it without somebody noticing. Another area that stood out to me was the text messages. Now, you might be thinking, who texts on an iPad? Well, sometimes the iMessages sync up with my iPad, and as a result, it seemed that some of them were stored on there. Viewing this showed me the value of a phone call over a text message in terms of preserving your privacy. I have edited out the phone numbers, maybe poorly, but you can see the context of my text messages very clearly. If there was any kind of illicit or private activity I didn't want someone seeing, there wouldn't be anything left to the imagination. Now, I am curious as to how this acquisition would fare against sending someone voice messages or an encrypted app such as Telegram. I would have to think, though, that if they are stored locally on your phone, then I imagine you will see them all the same. An example where someone may have personally benefited from making more phone calls is the infamous Alex Jones defamation case. For the unaware, Alex Jones claimed to have never mentioned Sandy Hook, but when his texts were turned over to the prosecuting attorneys, they found otherwise. To contrast with the text messages, here is a screen of a call log taken from the iPad. Now, I'm not sure if this would typically have contact names where you read the phone numbers. I know that mine do not, since these calls were shared from my iPhone to my iPad, and I don't have the contacts stored on my iPad. It just shows the phone numbers. But either way, as you can see, the only thing that is clear is who I spoke with, at what time, and for how long. The contents of the conversation, if there even was one, are a mystery. There is much less potential to incriminate yourself. I use the app Google Keep for all of my personal note taking. I find it very convenient, and since I was a long-time Android user, it has always been very easy for me to back up my notes and transfer them from device to device. When I purchased an iPhone, all I had to do was download the app and sign into my Google account. We see now how that was a mistake, but this service has only let me down one time, really, and that was when I spent a portion of my life living in a remote place without regular phone signal, and therefore the notes did not back up to the cloud. Now, when the phone broke, the notes were lost. Perhaps if I had software such as this, I could have restored some of it. But this experience has shown me that if I'm intrinsically logged into a device, all the info on that account will be easily accessed. Mobile Edit also has an entire section on all of the apps installed or even ones installed on the device. Most of these apps did not have any pertinent information, but some did. The Kindle app, as can be seen, shows some of the ebooks that were installed on the device. Obviously, there were many more than this, but you can get the idea. By seeing all the apps in use, an examiner could build a sort of profile of the user and get an understanding of the role of the device in the user's life. Just like being mindful of your text messages, I feel as if this serves a lesson to be mindful of your app habits as well. Do not just download any app you feel like. The FTC recommends that you do your homework and only use trusted apps from official stores. Also, read the permissions agreement before you agree to the installation. For an already installed app, they recommend to limit location permissions and not automatically sign in with a social network. Gee, I wish I had read that earlier. The Mobile Edit Forensics Report was a great hands-on experience to witness a proper mobile acquisition. Again, it has shown me that the right software can really make all the difference. Like any tool, however, it is only as good as the person utilizing it. This also means knowing which software to use and when. As the Internet of Things grows, knowing when and where to use certain software will become crucial. The field of IoT forensics is growing as well, and may possibly end up merging with what we understand to be mobile forensics. Either that, or it will be assimilated with the idea of cloud forensics. According to the EC Council, any computer forensics investigation must include provision for multiple standards and data formats. Because of this, an experienced digital forensic examiner would be smart to keep more than one software in their proverbial tool belt. I believe planned obsolescence, a phenomenon which I hope will likely be proven, can be a double-edged sword for a digital forensic examiner. Initially, I believed it would be a bad thing, as constantly evolving technology means more cutting-edge tech and better security, making it harder to crack the phones. But keeping people up to date means at one time there's probably a smaller pool of devices instead of possibly something 10 years old. I doubt anyone these days has a phone older than 3 or 4 years. It will be curious to see the further implications of planned obsolescence, such as whether or not it will be addressed as the consumer rights issue I believe it to be. I think it also bleeds into the idea of right to repair, which would help products last a lot longer if we could enact it into our consumer rights here in the US. As we have more and more access to devices in our lives, our dependence on them will grow. To me, this means that we will essentially be unable to function and perform certain tasks without them. Now, while digital dependence may not be the best thing for an individual, it is almost an assurance that the field of digital forensics will continue to grow. Now, going deeper, some even view an individual digital dependence as a digital addiction. And as more aspects of our lives turn digital, there will most likely be more crimes committed digitally as well, which means more cybersecurity issues, more investigations, more examiners, job security. According to IBM, digital forensics is at the core of modern policing, and over 90% of all crime is recognized as having a digital element. Because of this, IBM has a plan to try to centralize data to help forensic examiners. Another thing that should be a priority in these times is improving security. While this may not help criminal forensic investigations, it will help to lower the need of forensic examiners for data breaches and similar needs. If you can't get breached in the first place, then there's no need for the forensics. But in reality, I believe the demand will only continue to increase, just as with most positions in the world of information technology. In conclusion, I learned a lot about forensics and mobile acquisition this semester. I can see that this field will continue to grow and offer lots of career advancement. I believe digital dependence is in its infancy, which will only lead to higher forensic demand. My biggest takeaway from taking this course is to be mindful of your online habits and that your privacy must be taken into your own hands. Our legislators do not have this as a priority, and we the people must help ourselves. I know I'm personally going to text less and watch where I sign in with my Google account more. In this day and age, you can never be too safe. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful rest of your summer.